Welcome. Let's come onto hands and knees as a little warm up. Hands under shoulders, knees under hips. Let's start with our back pretty straight, and it's okay to use a mirror to find that position. Now we're going to do a cat stretch. So let's round our spine up to the ceiling, pressing through the arms, stretching the back. And then let's arch the back. So let the chest drop down and the tailbone lift up to the ceiling. Exhale, round your spine. Inhale, extend your spine. Try and keep your arms nice and straight so that we learn that the movement is coming from our spine. Using your tummy muscles and pressing through your arms to create the round shape. When you extend, it's really sort of a letting go and using your back muscles to curve the spine backwards. And again, if you can do your work next to the mirror, it's really helpful to be able to see those shapes you're creating with your spine. When we look at it in the mirror, it's often not as much curve as we imagine in our mind. One more time, into extension, lifting the head, and into rounding, dropping the head down. Now come into a flat back position, turn your fingers to the middle of the mat, take one arm under and twist, and then press back up. Go the other way, twist and center. So this is our thread the needle stretch. We slide one arm underneath along the floor. See if we can come all the way down till our shoulder and the side of our head touches the floor. Doesn't matter if you can't come all the way down yet. You've got that arm to support you. And this is an upper back stretch in a twisting action, keeping the hips nice and high. Let's do one more each side. And then we're going to do a straight arm shoulder stretch. So reach one arm forward and then bend your supporting arm and relax down. See if we can get our forehead and our forearm on the bent arm to rest on the floor, but stretching the shoulder of the straight arm. Now try the other side. Reach forward, relax down, stretching the shoulder. It's like stretching the shoulder in an overhead position, but using gravity and our body weight to help us with the stretch. And then let's come into a kneeling position. Step one leg forward, lengthen the tailbone down and lunge forward slightly. We can also add interlock the fingers, squeeze the shoulder blades together. Our back is staying reasonably upright and straight in this one. Let's change sides. Step forward, lunge forward, stretching the front of the hip on the back leg, and if you can, adding the chest and shoulder stretch as well. And now let's come into a seated position towards one end of our mat, legs bent, hands behind our knees. Try and sit up as tall as you can. That is challenging with the legs in this position, lifting the chest, and just take a few breaths. Practice pelvic floor, drawing up, lower tummy muscles drawing in. Having the knees tucked in like that might help you feel that connection across the hip bones. Let's hang back off the knees and then come back up tall. Exhale, hang back. Inhale, come up. Keeping the hands behind the knees and actively tucking our tailbone and trying to get our spine as round as we can. That includes our upper back, so our shoulders round forward and our front ribs pull in, but also our tailbone tucking under. Now, if you want to make it a little bit stronger, do it with the arms reaching forward. So it's the same shape, but you can feel more work in your abdominals and also in your hip flexors. There's always lots of different muscles working. It's hard to isolate just one set of muscles. On this next one, let's roll all the way to the floor as slowly as we can without holding our breath. Relax the arms by your side and adjust the legs so they're comfortable. Let's flatten or imprint our lower spine into the floor and just take a few breaths. Make sure you've got lower abdominal connection. Now we're going to hover the arms just off the floor and pump them up and down. So these are the arms we traditionally use for our hundreds. Now there's a little bit of shoulder work, but we're really just practicing breathing, zipping up, keeping our lower back nice and flat. Pumping the arms up and down, gently drawing the tummy muscles in to keep the lower back gently pressed into the floor. If you've got that, let's draw one leg up into tabletop and then put it back down. Exhale, lift the other leg up into tabletop and then put it back down. Paying a little bit more attention to that specific breathing. Exhale when you lift, inhale when you lower. The main focus is still lower abdominals, lower back imprinted. One more each side. You can probably feel a little bit more abdominals and hip flexors as we lift that leg and draw it in. Excellent. Let's pull one knee into the chest, extend the other leg out straight along the floor, just for a stretch. Spend a few breaths drawing that knee as close as you can, deep hip flexion and lower back stretch. And then we're going to try our single leg stretch. So hover the straight leg off the floor. Let's swap the legs. 10, 9, 8. Pull that knee nice and close using your arms. Reach the other leg nice and straight. We've got our arms to help, but we still need to use our tummy muscles to keep the back nice and flat. And then hold it. Put that straight leg down on the floor. Hands behind the knees, straight arms. Let's curl forward, pressing the leg into the hands and then release. So this is our assisted curl, using some of our leg strength to pull our upper body into that sit-up position. If we can, exhale when you curl, inhale when you release, and really try and feel that rounding shape with your spine. Look down towards your lower tummy muscles and see if you can see them drawing into the body. One more. And then let's keep that knee hugged in. Use the opposite hand to take it across the body for a twist while the same arm goes out to the side, keeping that shoulder down. It's just a stretch for our back and our hip. And then let's come back to the center and let's hug our other knee in. Reach the opposite leg out straight along the floor and just pull the knee close, stretching hip, lower back. And it's okay to feel the front of our hip as well. Now we're going to try our single leg stretch again. You can leave your head and shoulders down if you like. But if you can, let's curl our head and shoulders forward and hold that curl as we float the straight leg and swap. Swap. Good. Notice how you can sort of use the knee hug to help you hold that curl position. Working the abdominals, swapping the legs. Last one and hold. Then relax the head and shoulders down. Hands behind your knee, straight arm, assisted curl. Press and curl forward and release. Rounding the spine and release. We're all different. You might find this easy, you might find this challenging. It might seem obvious, but practicing that round position is what a lot of ab work is made up of. Think of a full sit-up, a roll-up or a roll-over. It requires rounding of the spine, so back flexibility and abdominal strength. 2 more. It's normal to feel a little bit of neck muscles because we've got to bring our head with us. And then let's relax, arms down by our side, legs are bent, feet are hip width apart. Preparing for pelvic curls. Take a few breaths, gently tilt the pelvis, imprinting the lower spine. Now we're going to flatten the lower back and roll our hips up off the floor and then roll back down. Flattening the lower back into the mat on the way up and on the way back down. As your back gets more flexible, your abdominals get stronger and your body awareness improves, that will be easier to feel. When you first start, it might just feel like you're lifting the hips up. That's okay. Working our glutes and hamstrings, but over time, getting a little bit more fluid with that roll through our spine. As you roll up, try and actively squeeze your bum muscles, because we've probably got our hamstrings working automatically anyway, but sometimes we need to, on purpose, squeeze the bum muscles. And make sure the knees don't open out to the side, so we probably feel a bit of inner thighs too. Last one. And then we'll roll down and stay down. We still want that little bit of an imprint. Let's put our hands on our thighs. That's our starting position. Then we take the arms up to vertical and back to the floor as much as we can, and then bring them back to the thighs. Let's inhale to go back and exhale to return. Now we're trying to keep our lower back gently pressed into the floor, but it feels like our shoulders are stretching, our chest is lifting a little bit. And don't force it, they might not go all the way back yet. This is us working on our shoulder flexibility. Again, it's easier to do this in a lying down position rather than standing upright. As your arms go back, notice your shoulder joints need to lift up towards your ears a little bit, and the shoulder blades actually rotate out towards your side, upper back, or your armpit really. One more, and then we're going to leave the hands on the thighs to do some little sit-ups here. So let's exhale, curl forward, slide up the thighs and release. Rounding the spine. We try not to hold our breath. We try and flatten the lower back into the floor, but we do need to just build strength in those curling forward muscles. Now let's put one hand behind our head to support the weight of our head, and put the hand on the opposite thigh and slide up on a diagonal. Curl forward and release. So now we're curling forward and twisting. So one side of the upper back comes up much higher off the floor. Let's try the other side. Hand on opposite thigh, curl and twist and release. Curl and twist. So we're working our regular abdominals, our six-pack muscles to curl forward, then our obliques, those side ones that help us twist, and release. Let's take one leg up to the ceiling and catch onto it, pull it towards us for a nice hamstring stretch. Try and have the leg pretty straight and hold as close as you can to the ankle, stretching the back of the thigh. Now let's extend the other leg out straight, not too low. For scissors, let's swap the legs, catch onto it, pull it towards you. Swap and pull. That bottom leg doesn't need to go too low. We're trying to keep it within a range that we can keep our back nice and flat. We can feel our tummy muscles working and the back of our legs stretching. Next time you're catching onto your other leg, just hold it. Bend the other leg, pop it on the floor, and just do your hamstring stretch on the other side. Make sure you're not doing the same side twice. Your supporting knee, point straight up to the ceiling. We're going to do our scissors again. You can leave your head and shoulders down, or if you'd like to try, curl your head and shoulders forward and hold it. Extend the other leg, then we scissor. Scissor, straight legs passing each other, holding that curled position, pulling the leg back to stretch the hamstring. Last one, each side, and then hug the knees into the chest, relax the head and shoulders, maybe do a little bit of side to side, feel the lower back stretching and the tailbone a little bit curled off the floor. And then if we just hold it in the middle, let's use our arms to hug the knees in towards the chest, then slightly release. We're using our arms, but see if you can also use your tummy muscles to help you pull the legs back and feel your lower back pressing into the floor, the tailbone curling up. So arms are helping, sure, but let's use the abdominals as well. Creating that round shape in the lower back. Now let's put the hands behind the knees for rolling like a ball. Build up a bit of momentum. Rock forward and back, swinging the legs till you can come up all the way. Put your feet on the floor. Let's try that again. Big roll, bit of momentum, get all the way up to a seated position. Round your spine as you roll, trying to get that roll as smooth as you can. Now that's level 1, putting your feet on the floor at the top. If you'd like to try, roll up and try and hover the feet off the floor. So that means you have to balance on your tailbone in that round position, which is really abdominals, hip flexors, and we've still got our hands behind our knees to help as well. Last one, roll, balance, and then let's put our feet on the floor, extend the legs out nice and straight, arms reaching forward, sitting up tall. We're going to do our roll-ups starting from here. So level 1, let's roll down to the floor as slow as we can and reach the arms back. Now hug the knees into the chest, roll up like rollerball, and then extend the legs out straight, arms reaching forward. Try not to hold your breath as you roll down. Stretch the shoulders, arms back. Hug the knees in. Use momentum to get back up to the top. And again, reach, roll, and stretch. Now, level 2, see if we can roll up, keeping our legs straight. And it's totally fine to throw the arms, use lots of momentum. You might find your feet leave the floor a little bit when you're learning it. That's okay. This is level 2, rolling up however we can. Let's do 3 more roll-ups. Of course, eventually we'd like to have a little bit less throw, a little bit more control and rounding of the spine. So we're trying to add that in on the way up, but it will take a long time, even if we're just working on getting it smooth, breathing, getting those abdominals happening on the way down. That's great too. One more time, roll up however you can, and then control it down nice and slow. Breathe. And then we're going to come into a side lying position. Have your head resting in your hand or use a pillow if you need to. Legs are bent, top hand on the top hip. Check that the front of the knees line up so you make sure you're right on your side. First move is knee toe. Let's lift our foot in the air, keeping our knees together. Then have your feet together, knees apart. Now we alternate. Knees, feet, alternating between the two reasonably quickly, reasonably big range, and also trying to keep our body reasonably stable. We don't need to be super fussy. This is going to work our glutes, so those muscles in the hip regardless, but we need to keep it moving. This should feel like we're working our side bum muscles, probably our hamstrings, and even the muscles of our shins as well. Toes and knees, toes and knees. This exercise often feels quite easy at the beginning, but hopefully by now it has built up nicely. We're feeling that work in the hip. Last one, and then rest. Let's extend the top leg and the top arm out straight, and we're going to do elbow to knee and then reach away. Elbow to knee and then reach. So just doing that basic shape is working our hip flexors and our shoulder, but also you might notice crunching or shortening through the top waist. See if you can squeeze your side ab muscles even more on purpose. We're getting some work from making the shape, but then we squeeze the right muscles as well. One more, reach and crunch. Now let's extend that top leg out straight, top hand on the hip, lift and lower that straight leg up and down. Leg is straight, in line with the body. Maybe point your toes, working our side glutes to lift the leg. Last one, and then relax. Now we're going to set up for a side hover. Elbow under shoulder, legs bent. Level 1, just support yourself here, building shoulder strength. Level 2, use your hand in front, lift the hips and hold. Level 3, arm to vertical. Whatever level you're doing, we're just trying to hold it for the whole time, lifting from our side abdominals underneath. breathe. This is a tough one. Nearly there. And then relax it down. Now let's do the other side. So come into your side lying position, head resting in your hand, legs are bent, top hand on the top hip, front of the knees line up. Getting ready for knee toe. Lift the foot but keep the knees together, then lift the knee, feet together. Knees, toes, alternating between the two, keeping our body reasonably still. Upper body nice and relaxed. Starting to feel our glutes, our bum muscles, and the muscles deep in the hip. Imagine your thigh bone. It's rolling out and in, moving around in the hip socket, all those little muscles involved with that. Really important for hip and knee stability. See if you can keep it moving. We're getting close now. About 4 to go. 3, 2, 1, and then rest. Let's extend that top leg out straight. Reach the top arm, elbow to knee, and reach away. Elbow to knee and reach away. So yes, moving the arm and leg, working those muscles, including our hip flexors, but then try and crunch the side abdominals. Shorten the space between your ribs and hips along the top side. Crunching, lengthening one side, shortening the other. Reach out long. Last one. And then we're going to leave that top leg out straight. Put the top hand on the top hip. Lift and lower. Lift. 2, 3. Keeping the legs straight. Keeping the hips pretty still in this one. A little bit more stability. Feeling the side bum muscles. Last one. And then relax it down. Let's get ready for side hover. Legs are bent. We come up onto our forearms. Level 1, keep the hips on the floor. Level 2, push with the top hand to help lift the hips. Level 3, you take the arm to vertical. Imagine you're trying to create a side bend shape, even though it doesn't quite look like it. Shortening underneath, working the side abs. And then let's relax it back down. Well done. Come on to hands and knees. And use your mirror. We're trying to get our lower back nice and straight, so pulling up with our tummy muscles, but we want our upper back nice and flat too. Arms are straight. Now, from this position, we're going to step one leg back till it's nice and straight, touching the toes to the floor, and then bring it in. Other side. Tap back and in. Trying to keep our back nice and straight as we do that. It's not too tough yet, but using your tummy muscles pulling up to keep the lower back straight, neck in line with spine, arms nice and straight as well. One more each side, and this is level 1, so feel free to stay here if you need to. Level 2, let's step one leg back, leave it there. Step the other leg back as well, then bring the first knee back down, then the second knee back down. So we step back, back, forward, forward. So that means for a second or two, we're in plank, both legs straight, supporting our body weight in our arms, but also using our abdominals to keep the back straight. Make sure the bum doesn't drop down when you have both legs straight or go too high. You might need to use your mirror, get that body awareness where you are in space. If you can, swap what leg you step back with first, just so we're nice and even. Last couple, leading with the other leg. Now plank is tough. Doesn't look tough, but it is very tough, full plank. One more time, step back and then knees down. Now let's take our knees back a little bit, bring our hips forward so it kind of looks like plank on the knees, and slowly, elbows in, lower yourself to the floor, lying on your tummy. Now let's put one hand on top of the other and just let the forehead rest on your hands and just take a few breaths. Really relax the body here. Gently tilt the pubic bone down towards the floor, lengthening the lower back. Now we still have our feet on the floor, but let's engage all our leg muscles, squeezing nice and straight. Might feel like our knees are lifted, but not our feet. Single leg lift. Let's lift one leg and down, other leg and down. It doesn't need to go high. We're trying to keep the leg really straight, the pelvis pretty stable, so it should feel like our bum muscles and our hamstrings are working to lift one leg at a time. Now let's make it both legs. Lift both and release. Again, notice they're not going very high. We're trying to keep our legs straight and lift our kneecaps and a little bit of our thighs off the floor rather than just bending the knees to get the feet really high. 2. Last one. And then let's bend one leg, reach around, see if we can catch onto the foot for a quad stretch. Head and shoulders are resting. We try and have our legs reasonably close together and we're drawing our heel towards our hip. If you need to, use a strap to hold on to if you can't quite reach the foot yet. Pulling the foot in to stretch the front of the thigh. Now let's press the foot backwards, press with our arm a little bit and see if we can lift our chest for a small back bend, working our back muscles in extension. And then relax it down. Let's do the other side. Catch onto the foot however you need to. Relax the upper body and we're stretching the front of the thigh by pulling the heel towards the hip. Don't force it, it shouldn't be painful for the knee. Now let's do our back bend. Press the foot away from the hips, press with that front arm to create a little back bend, and because it's one-sided, it's a little bit of a twist too. And then relax it back down and release the foot. Let's bring our hands flat on the floor next to the chest for swan. Just move your shoulders around a little bit, make sure you're not tense, and then squeeze the shoulder blades together and lift the chest just a little bit and then come down. Inhale, lift, exhale, lower. So at the moment, no pushing with the arms, and we're really just trying to feel our upper back muscles working just to do that little bit of extension. And this is level 1. Level 2, see if you can go a little bit higher, still not pushing with your arms yet, but now you can feel the lower back muscles working as well, which is correct. We're meant to feel the back muscles working. Shouldn't be painful, but muscle work through the whole back of the body. Now this is level 2, so feel free to stay with this one. Level 3, you still use your back muscles to lift, but then you press with your arms to come up into a full swan or full back bend, and then come back down. Use your back muscles first, then the arms take over. It all looks nice and smooth, but make sure you build the strength by using the back muscles before you push with the arms. One more, press as high as you can. And then we're going to sit back on our heels for child's pose. You can have your arms reaching forward, under your forehead or wrapped around to the side. The knees can be together or apart. If child's pose doesn't suit you, you could always lie on your back and do a knee hug for the same stretch. And this is meant to feel like it's stretching our lower back, but knees, hips, shoulders also stretching. Breathe deeply into the belly, trying to relax any unnecessary tension. Now let's come onto hands and knees for thread the needle stretch. Thread one arm underneath, come down onto the shoulder and side of your head, twisting and stretching the upper back. Imagine creating space in between the shoulder blades. Now if your head and shoulder don't come all the way down, you could just change side to side like we did in the warm-up. And then let's do the other side. Slide, reach, keep the hips high. Once you've been in the stretch for a few breaths, you might want to increase it by sliding the bottom arm a little bit further, pressing with the hand on the floor to roll the top shoulder back. Breathe into the upper back and really just notice how the stretch feels for you. And then let's press back up and we're going to do a shoulder stretch. We could do one arm forward, softening down, forehead on the floor, or we could do both arms reaching forward as a stronger option. If you're doing one arm, do a few breaths and then change sides. Stretching our shoulders overhead, stretching our upper back. And then let's come back up onto our knees for hip flexor stretch. Step one leg forward, lunge forward to stretch the front of the hip. If we can, interlock the fingers, hands behind, squeeze the shoulder blades together, staying reasonably vertical through our spine. Front knee directly over the ankle. And let's do the other side. Step the leg forward, lunge forward, feel the hip flexor stretch, then add the chest and shoulder stretch, pressing the chest forward, lengthening the crown to the ceiling. Breathe, feel the stretch, but don't overdo. You did fantastic work, be consistent, and you'll see improvements in no time.